I'm Dermot Hussey. Welcome to the YouTube channel for the podcast Riffin Radio. Brian Jobson and his brother Wayne are two of the best known Jamaican music personalities. In the 1980s, they formed the seminal band Native, which was very influential on the reggae rock scene, releasing 4 albums on major labels that were successful in the USA and Europe. In the 90s, Brian formed another group, 4 Factory of Unlimited Rhythm, that was signed to Ali Campbell of UB40. As a songwriter, he has produced and worked with Monty Alexander, Toots Hibbert, Gregory Isaacs, Keith Richards, and Dave Stewart. I spoke to Brian about UB40. Brian, good to see you, man.
Man, that's great.
Hey.
I was just when I told because I work with Dave Stewart, so he was just saying, "Oh, let's go to the beach now." I said, "No, man, I have a Zoom thing to do." He said, "Man, you're turning like me," because almost every day is about like 10 meetings he had. So I told him I'm doing the thing with UB40. He said, "What? Let me jump in on it," because his manager used to manage UB40 too, Dave Kaplan, in America, which I didn't even know. And he said he had some UB40 stories. So that's great.
It would have been nice to squeeze him in. I mean, speaking of UB40, what was the first song by them that really hit you?
Well, it's funny thinking of that, right? And what happened is when we first did our first album in 1980, and then Wayne took the rest of the album to England, to deliver it to Arista, and it was two-tone had just started, with the specials and madness. So a Native, what we wanted to be like a Wailers meets Pink Floyd type of vibe, So Wayne come back and say, "Man, the people over there, all they listen to is ska and this kind of thing." We said, "What, they listening to old people's music and all that?" But he said, "But there's this one group who is playing something really different," and he had the tape, and so he brought the tape back, and I put it on, and it was this song. It was going, "I believe Madonna, dying in the dust, waiting for the manna coming from the west. Barren is her bosom, empty as her eyes. Death a certain harvest, scattered from the skies." When I heard that, I said, "What?" I said, "This is some different kind of breed of lyrics, and Ali's voice. Ali almost had kind of a Stevie Wonder kind of vibe. So it was a Food for Thought, which was on their first album. When I heard that, I said, "Man, these guys are doing something really different, really good." And I even played it for Sly and Sly. I said, "Yeah, man, I never heard this before. I love it," So from that time, Food for Thought, which was, I think, their second single. The first one they had, My Way of Thinking. Like, very, very Stevie Wonderish. And yeah, from that time, I really dug them. And then when we went to LA for the year, and we were there, and they were playing at the Whiskey A Go Go, and we said, "Boy, we have to go see this band." So we went and saw them, and we got backstage after, and there's these guys sitting on pale as hell. And we said, "Hey man, we love your music, you know, you ever been to Jamaica? And I said, no, that's our dream. That's our dream to come there. We've never been there. Then fast forward to like 15, 20 years later, and they come to Jamaica and get in the house and sign us and all that, you know. So it was really a full circle come around, you know. That was really, but I mean, always, we always got on well, you know, and I respected what they did. I preferred their early stuff than when they started doing all of the covers, but with the covers it was really good because a lot of Jamaican artists for the first time got compensated for all of their stuff, you know, because they made sure to find out who the writers were and all of that and pay them.
They're arguably the first non-Jamaican group that was so Jamaican. How you explain that? How do you explain that?
Well, you see, when you talk about like Ali's wife's father was Jamaican. Astro's parents are Jamaican and all that. So all of them kind of grew up together in like Jamaican households, or the girlfriends had Jamaican parentage. So their parents were like the Windrush generation, you know. So they were like the next generation of that. And growing up in Birmingham, that's all they listened to, you know. And they were like some street kids because they couldn't really play when they started, you know, but they just loved the music. So they just, you know, did it. And it came out right at the time as the two-tone movement were, but they weren't really part of that movement, although they were trying to be lumped in with them, you know. But I mean, because they really kind of understood the music more, you know, and they, you know, the two-tone was more like a fashion kind of thing, but they were really into and amazing lyrics, you know, I mean, politically motivated lyrics and all that, you know, so yeah.
They seem to have also understood how to use the Jamaican influence to make hit music.
Exactly. They had very good pop sensibilities as well, you know, really good melodies, and a good live act and all that. So that, and you know, because even, you know, they approached a lot of companies, you know, I mean, when they did that first album, and Ali even has a letter from Ireland that he sent to them, and Ireland sent back, said, we see no commercial value in this whatsoever. And we always ask Chris about that. Chris said, yeah, that's the one that got away from me. It got away from me, you know.
Did your group Native use any of that kind of mix that they used in their music?
We looking back on it, we weren't thinking about like, we don't want to write hits, we want to write vibey kind of music, you know. So that's why we say we want to be like Wailers and Pink Floyd, more kind of meditative, deep jams and that type of stuff, you know. So we you know, and we had our own sound at that time, you know, because which was kind of like Third World, but in a more rock. You know, where Third World was kind of going into R&B. We said, no, we want to put it in a rock direction, you know. So, but we appreciated what they did, and you know, all of us were on our own lanes, you know, in a sense, you know.
How much do you think their success was due to Ali Campbell's vocals? Because he does have a sound.
Definitely, because even when he went solo, he still had hits. He had a definite sound that nobody else sounded like him. I remember talking about Roberta Flack. We were talking one time about that, and she said, man, that's one of the best voices I've ever heard. And it's not like it's a great voice, it is, but he knows how to use it, you know, and there's no other person who is singing like that, and it fit perfectly with the material that they were doing, you know. So it must have been a big influence, you know, on how what happened with them, really, I think.
Another group that you also formed in the 90s, Four, was signed to Ali Campbell. How did that work out?
Is that when Ali came to Jamaica, you know, like, well, they would always come and we would always hang out and all that. And then when we had Four, and you know, me and Peter and Paul Hussey and Suzanne, we just did the record, and Dave heard it, and Dave Stewart heard it and said, I want to sign you guys. So we signed with him, but it was with like his company through Warner Brothers, East West Records it was. And then Ali came, and Ali heard the thing and said, man, Virgin just gave me a label, you know, and I've signed Bitty McLean, and I want to sign you guys too. I said, yeah, but we signed with Dave Stewart. He said, no, man, talk with him. So I went to Dave and said, Dave, you know, you're my friend and all of this thing, but you know, I just got a good deal. I don't think Warner Brothers knows how to market us. They don't really know. And I've got a deal as well from an offer from Virgin through Ali Campbell. Dave said, you know what? I'm an artist, and I would never want you to be stuck with I would never want to be stuck with a label that is not really, you don't feel comfortable with. So he said, and it's true, because his solo records, he said, they don't even know how to promote my solo records. So I can imagine what you guys are feeling. So he said, you know what? I'll let you go and you can sign with Virgin. But I always want to just, you and me to work together and all that. And I said, boy, that's so great. So I went to Ali and signed it with Ali, which was really good, because if I had been signed with a major company, there's no way they would have ever given us that type. They would have won overrides and all that. They said, no, here's your contract, go and sign with them, but we'll just continue working. And up to this day, me and him still work together, so it was a very honorable thing to do.
Yeah. Wonderful. UB40 was hugely successful internationally. How do you think their success helped reggae, or is it just the writers that they covered that benefited?
Well, the funny thing with UB40, that they were big everywhere, excluding the US, until they did Red Red Wine, which was very weird, because when they did Red Red Wine, we were saying, why are they doing these kind of cover, and Cherry O Baby, and the way you do the things you do. But elsewhere in the world, they were huge. But when they did Red Red Wine, I mean, it broke them in the States, and also with MTV, that fed into other things. And then when they came with, I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, that was even a bigger mega hit, So it's funny, but their biggest selling records were their covers, So they kind of got stymied or put in the category of a covers band. But when you listen to the first 3 albums, which was, all original stuff, except for a few obscure covers, but not kind of reggae covers. It's just like a paradox, really, because their first 2 albums were their real sound, and that's what I always refer back to, the Signing Off and Present Arms, those 2 albums, But who can argue? Because I guess doing covers of well-known songs, put them over, and people could recognize it more, and then people would go back and discover the early stuff and all of that. So it was like, the vagaries of the music business, you can never know what it's luck, it's timing, everything,
The group's gone through a lot of formations since the early group. Where do you think they are today?
Well, they can be making records until ad infinitum, because they're more of a covers band now, So, and then they're split into 2. Although all of them grew up together, then when managers and all this come into, then they split up, and so they have 2 factions. They have Ali and Astro, and I think Mickey in one, and then they have the others in another one. So it's kind of, I wish they would come back together and just do the right thing, and do that. But I mean, they can still, sell out things everywhere and make a good living off of that. But it's not 1980, 81, 82, 83 again, that whole thing has changed. So they don't really sell records again, but they still have a name, and they can tour with that name, for as long as they want, basically.
Hey, Brian.
The way I see it, yeah.
Great to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man. Cool. All right.
We talk soon.
Yeah, man. All the best. All right. Take care.
Take care. Yeah. Ciao.
Yeah, man. Bye.